What's up, y'all? It's Josh with Superior Strength LLC. I've been waiting to make this video, guys. The other day, yesterday, hit a PR on my deadlift 750 by 1, and I was hoping that I was able to execute that lift very well because I wanted to break down the lift for you guys and just chat a little bit about what led me up to that lift, what the warm-up was, what the hydration was, fueling was, and everything like that. Just the ins and outs of preparing for a in-training PR attempt, okay? Not a competition, okay? There will be differences between what I'm talking about for in-training and in comp as far as fueling, warm-up, and every execution of the lift and stuff like that, okay? So we'll go ahead and real quick watch the lift. In a minute, I'm gonna first talk about the warm-up procedure I did but prior to the lift, and then we'll go ahead and look at it real quick, okay? So I wanted to take a really easy approach as far as like a lot of sets to warm up for this lift because I didn't want to warm up too quickly. I wanted to take my time. I wanted to be able to recover my ATP system in between every single set and really just like take my time with it, okay? I think it took me about an hour, maybe hour 20 minutes, I can't remember exactly, to do literally just working up to 1 rep. But yeah, I started with 5 reps and did 135 with that. And then after that, I just added 45, worked down to 4 reps, so 225. And then I did 315 by 3 reps. And then I did 405 by 2. And then I did 495 by 1. And that's when I started to do 50-pound increments instead of jumping up 90 pounds every time. So I worked my way up and only did singles there for 550, then 600, and then I did 650, and then after that I did 710, and then of course I did my final attempt, and that was 750. Yep, 750 by 1. So leading up into that, as far as like exercises that I did for warm-ups, I didn't do a whole lot of like activation drills or anything like that. I did a lot of hip opening stretches. I wanted to be able to really move my knees out. You'll see that in the video. I'm trying to push my knees out laterally, kind of like sumo squat into the position so I could get my hands set up and my straps set up. So I really focused on that mobility there. And then with every single warm-up set, I was treating it like it was my 1 rep max attempt. I would get the right tension. I would take my time with it. I would push through the floor, push my hips through, stand up tall, all the good stuff, trying to execute that lift perfectly. And it transcribed really well to a good 1 rep max attempt. Now, as you'll see when we look real quick, there was a little bit of shifting on the bottom as I was just adjusting my center of gravity to be where it needed to be. But otherwise, the whole entire lift was really, really clean, in my opinion. We'll go ahead and take a look at that now. So yeah, as you guys can see, very clean lift, little bit of a little hip, little movement, whole body movement side to side at the beginning. That's just finding my center of mass. I could easily fix that by pushing my feet a little bit more firmly into the ground to start. But otherwise, on the way up, really good. Once I got it up to the top, I know I have an issue with locking out my knees entirely sometimes. I've never been called for it, but I wanted to make sure, so I just quick locked out my knees, forced both my quads to flex, and it was that. As far as the lift itself, guys, really focusing when you're PR attempting in training on getting quality movement, okay? You're basically trying to practice with that weight, if you want to call it that way. It may be a new weight, maybe never been able to lift it before, but you're essentially just practicing with it, because in competition, your goal is to just go all out, okay? You form aside and everything like that. But in training, I really think it's important to get form PRs more consistently than just weight PRs. And that's for just joint health, but also for the ability to be able to feel comfortable as you keep increasing weights. Once I feel like you start to let form go, to sacrifice form for some PRs, like really, really big PRs in training, that I feel like it's almost, it creates this sense of like you're not sure if you're going to be able to hold the form when you do attempt that weight on the platform. Personally, I want to know that my back, my hips, my legs, everything can support the weight that I'm going to be holding. And I mean, grip, yeah, you saw I was using straps. That's something that you can easily, a couple months out from a competition, incorporate into training and not have to worry about it. But as far as everything else, like I want to make sure that's really, really solid. Like 30 pounds less than whatever I'm attempting, okay? I want to make sure my form is solid at 750, so that when I attempt 765, I'm confident that I'll be able to get that lift and be able to do that without injuring myself or sacrificing any form. So next thing I kind of want to talk about, guys, is the fueling that I did up to that lift. The day before, I had worked at my part-time job, about a 5-hour shift, so and that was a later evening one, so up until that, I ate a really good breakfast. The day before that, Tuesday, I had a lot of carbs with that, a lot of protein. For my snack between my dinner, I had a protein bar and an apple. That's pretty much all I have for work. It's all I have time to eat. So a little bit of a time constraint there. But I kept myself hydrated, at least during work. I took extra scoop of BCAAs and electrolyte solutions to help me out. And then as far as dinner, I always do this before PR attempts because it's kind of like a ritual. It's not the healthiest thing in the world, but I ate pizza and my favorite Ben & Jerry's ice cream, Cherry Garcia, because lots of carbs, lots of sugar. I'm eating it pretty much right before bed. I know I'm going to be lifting before I'm out and about the next day, relatively early, so I might as well have a bunch of sugar so that it's in my system. So I did that. I drank a lot of water. That's the key, guys. Frickin' A, who cares if you're eating really, really clean or not, when you're at least all the time, when you're training the way I am, because sometimes I don't want to frickin' eat a pound of potatoes because I have to get that many calories, and I'd rather just enjoy some ice cream or pizza and get that high calorie. Yeah, sure, it's not as quality, but to me, I feel the same way the next day. I feel less bloated actually eating the junkier food than I do sometimes with the healthier stuff, just because that stuff you have to eat in such massive quantities. But again, obviously choose whole food choices mostly. But yeah, eat a little bit of junk, get some quick sugar in you. And then the next morning, I had a light breakfast. I had, I think it was just some fruit and a protein shake with a couple of bananas in it, so some potassium, some more carbohydrates, more water, and then I had a Powerade with sugar in it during my warm-ups, just so I was prepared. I have a real bad problem with not eating enough up to training, up to competitions, just because I'm not hungry, at least enough carbs, and I end up suffering because of that, because I need a lot of that stuff to be able to execute the intensity that I need. So that's pretty much all I did for that nutrition, guys. We talked about what I did for the warm-ups and talked a little bit about the execution of the lift. I want to cover that just a little bit more. I know this is a longer video, but that's okay. So as far as execution with the lift, guys, again, we're treating it like a like you're slowing yourself down. I understand getting hyped. I understand getting excited, and I want you to do that. But I also want you to make sure that you know that you shouldn't sacrifice, again, form and cueing for the hype, okay? Just because you're all hyped up and excited and your nervous system's excited doesn't mean that you're gonna really execute your lift well if you're not slowing down your brain and thinking about what you're doing, okay? So for my execution of my lift, all I did was I had my knees out. I took my stance on the bar. I try to sumo squat or like sit into that by pushing my knees real out. I get a lot of adductor and like inner hamstring tension when I do that. I almost feel like I'm like you're trying to squat to poop in the woods, you know? I think that's what like coaches always would say or whatever. But then I got my hands down set, and I gave it a few tugs just to kind of get the tension in there, try to get that center of gravity set up real good right away. And then I just push my knees out, I sit back, I get my back nice and tense, as you can see in the video, and then I push through the floor, I push through my legs, and I think about wedging my hips into the bar. And I just hold that position, and I'm able to leverage the best that way, okay? I don't want to try to muscle it up. I don't want rounding to the back in that sumo, okay? This is like rounding the back's okay? Like sometimes you're mechanically advantaged when you have a little bit of a rounding in your back. But for people like me that have longer legs, short torso, it's really advantageous, yeah, that word, to go ahead and keep a nice straight back like that, because you can wedge your hips in there because you have a short little torso and longer legs. If you have shorter legs, longer torso, maybe you do have a little bit of rounding, whatever, it's fine. But then I'm holding that top position. That's one thing I'm a really big fan of, guys, as far as like PR attempts in training, is locking out that top position and holding it for at least like 3 to 5 seconds. One, because you never know in competition when you're gonna have to hold a lockout because your knees aren't locked out or your back's not straight or something like that. And you wanna be able to do that. But additionally on top of that, it's prepping you to be able to handle the next weight up because you're adding intensity to the lift without actually adding any really extra things to do besides holding it for a few more seconds. And then if you're not using straps, works on grip strength a little bit more too. Practice that lockout position. So I know that was a lot of information, guys, spit at you at once. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you got any questions on this stuff, let me know. As always, if you got some peeps that you know need some help with their training, or any questions, or maybe you yourself need help, please reach out. You can always schedule something at superiorstrengthpl.com. And until next time, guys, see you later.